Hello, and welcome to Conversations. I'm Robin Torres, your host. Sunflower House is a nonprofit United Way agency serving Wyandotte and Johnson counties in Kansas. Their mission is to protect children in our community from physical, sexual, and other abuses through education, advocacy, forensic, and medical services. Sunflower House is a place of hope for children who have fallen victim to abuse. The question located on their website, "What would I want for my child if he or she were abused?" drives every decision made at Sunflower House. Not only speaks volumes of the work done, but the dedication and compassion for the smallest of victims. We have joining us today Michelle Herman, President and CEO of the Sunflower House, and later we will talk with Allison McLean, Resource Development Director, and Bev Turner, Education Program Director. Thank you, Michelle, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became the President, CEO of the Sunflower House.
Well, I've spent my entire life living in Iowa. For over 30 years, actually, worked at an organization called Quakerdale that was a nonprofit, faith-based organization for abused and delinquent children and their families. And after being CEO for 18 years of that organization, I was ready for a change. And I selected this community because my children had started to move this direction, and I wanted to be an engaged grandparent when the time came.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the Sunflower House and where it's located.
Okay. Well, Sunflower House for me was a perfect match to what I had done before. In my past career, I worked with abused teenagers in the therapeutic side of the programs. But at Sunflower House, it's more about prevention and about advocacy, which is what drew me to the organization. Sunflower House is located in Shawnee, and we serve both Johnson and Wyandotte County, Kansas children. We are located not too far from I-435 behind the Target, and it's in a little bit of a remote location on purpose so that there's privacy for the families when they come to the center. We provide two basic programs for children. One is called the Child Assessment Program, and we have staff who are specially trained in how to conduct what's called forensic interviews. That word threw me a little when I first came to Sunflower House, but it really simply means that they're doing interviews with children who are suspected of being abused in ways that is very child-friendly, very non-leading, which is really important, and the objective is to get the truth. Have they or have they not been abused? And then it's done in ways that's digitally tape recorded, and we have the tapes that can be used as evidence in the court process if prosecution is required down the road. Okay. The other thing I might mention is that we have education programs, and those programs are designed specifically to teach children, to teach teachers, professionals, and anybody who's required to report child abuse how to do that, and even parents about how to protect children from child abuse.
Okay, wonderful. What other counties are served besides Wyandotte and Johnson? Are there any other counties in Kansas or Missouri that have Sunflower Houses?
No, Sunflower House is only serving those two counties, but there are other similar programs. We're called a Children's Advocacy Center, and it's a national model for conducting those kind of interviews. So there is a counterpart in Missouri. Okay.
It says on your website that you're an accredited member of the Children's Alliance. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, what it really means is that there is a nationally accepted best practice model that is used for this kind of interviewing process. And so we are affiliated with that organization and accredited by them, which means that they have monitored us, visited us, and assured that we are following best practice.
Okay. Now, there are other agencies in Wyandotte County, I'm sure Johnson County, that assist you with child prevention abuses. What other agencies are they?
Well, our partners would be considered law enforcement and the Child Protective Services departments in Kansas, and those are really the only two ways that children come to the Sunflower House. So they're brought directly by detectives of all the law enforcement jurisdictions in those two counties and child protective workers.
Okay. You attended an event recently in September. Is it the Child Haven or?
Safe Haven.
Safe Haven, I'm sorry. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that was not something that we sponsored, but we certainly wanted to support the effort because there is a law in Kansas that allows children to be given up without any consequence to the parents. So if a young mom realizes that she can't care for her child, there are places where she can take the child without any kind of consequence, and know that it'll go to a good, loving home. And those are places that can be found on our website or other websites that talk about the Safe Haven law. But it's just an alternative to, if you can't care for a child, we certainly don't ever want a child to be hurt.
Right. We still find that teenagers, sometimes young mothers, are not aware of that law, so
yes.
Hopefully they can get that word out. Give us a little bit of information about the structure of your organization. I know you have a lot of staff, you have your education component, committee members and things. Tell us about the structure. Okay.
There are 21 staff that work at Sunflower House, and part of them are the child assessment staff. I believe we have 4 interviewers that do the interviews and a supervisor. We also have a child advocate, a family advocate, excuse me, and that's the person that will work with the families when the children come in so that they're aware of what's going to happen and what to expect and really be support to them. We recently had a position where we have one staff person that we call a family support specialist, and she can work with the families after the interview process is over. So they come when they're in crisis. They're not always thinking clearly, and we give them a lot of recommendations and referrals about where they can go for the help that they need. But now this person can follow up and then support them through that process and make sure that they're making the connections. We also have 3 staff and a supervisor who do the education programs in the schools, and I know you're going to have Bev talk a little bit later about what they do, but they do the Happy Bear program and keeping kids safe online for middle school, and are the ones that teach the professionals about child abuse reporting laws and how to do that effectively. And then we have a limited number of support staff that are out recruiting volunteers and monitoring the activities of the volunteers and fundraising and bookkeeping and those kind of typical things that an organization has. Okay. So in addition to the staff, we have 21 board members on our board of directors, and they come with great expertise and are a great resource to the Sunflower House in monitoring policies and procedures and assisting with, fiscal responsibility and those kinds of things as well. Okay. We have a Friends of Sunflower House, which is a group of very, very dedicated volunteers who, for many of them, for years and years and years, have planned activities and different things to help support the organization, and then a number of smaller communities or committees as well.
Okay. What are your hours of operation?
We're open from 8:30 to 5,
okay.
Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, first of all, how can one volunteer and how can they help the organization itself, the Sunflower House?
For volunteers?
Within our community, yes.
Yes, it's very simple. You can just simply call Sunflower House at 913-631-5800. Ask for Teresa. She's the one that coordinates all of the volunteers. We only are able to work with volunteers 18 years and older, and it is important to people to know that they will have to have background checks because we want to make sure that we have no one around any of the children programs that might have had a history of abuse, just for their protection. And there's a number of things that volunteers can do. One of our important needs are people who are willing to be family advocates that can be in the waiting room when the families come in. We have toys, and we have a fish tank and different things to kind of keep the young children occupied. But sometimes when the parents are meeting with the advocate or the child is being interviewed, there might be siblings that are there that need to be attended. And so we have volunteers that assist with that, and that's really an appreciated thing that they can do. We also have volunteers that do a number of special events for Sunflower House that are fundraising in nature. We have a big gala in February, and so volunteers, many will help with that activity. We just had the Pumpkin Palooza this Halloween, which was a very fun activity. People donated pumpkins that they had decorated, and they were just amazing designs, and many volunteers helped with preparing and with conducting that actual event, and others as well.
So your volunteers, do they go through a certain sort of training?
Yes,
to help with,
yes. The ones that are doing the family advocacy work specifically, Teresa will work with them in terms of, orienting them about what to do, and we'll assist them and be with them in the beginning. And the ones that are doing the fundraising things, maybe not so much. They'll just be joining a committee and able to kind of hit the ground running in that respect.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle, for being with us. Thank you so much about enlightening us on the Sunflower House and what it's doing in our community for the kids.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. We'll be right back with Allison and Bev.
Over half the people waiting for an organ transplant in the United States will die before they get one. You can increase your chances of getting a life-saving organ donation by joining Life Sharers. You get preferred access to the organs of other members. In return, you give fellow members first access to your organs. Membership is free, and anyone can join. Join Life Sharers now. It's free, and it could save your life.
Hello and welcome back to Conversations. We're joined now with Allison McLean and Bev Turner, both from the Sunflower House. And we're going to continue our conversation on the Sunflower House. Hello ladies, how are you?
Hello. Thank
Good.
you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. How long have you both been with the Sunflower House?
Well, I have been with Sunflower House almost 4 years. I started as a development coordinator, and now I'm the resource development director.
Great.
And almost the same, a little over 4 years, and I started as an education coordinator, and then now I serve as the education program director.
Okay. What led both of you to go to the Sunflower House?
Well, I was a volunteer. I heard about Sunflower House when I worked in Child Protective Services. I worked in Wyandotte County doing investigations, and they recruited me as a volunteer, and I started volunteering, and then a position came open, and so they asked me to join their team, and so that's how I got involved.
Wonderful.
Well, myself started with secondary education, was going to be, high school history teacher, made my way to social services, and after working in domestic violence and sexual violence, kind of found my calling, and I live in the communities which we serve, which is a big plus. And I too was a volunteer. That's how we get everyone.
Okay.
Started as a volunteer,
Okay.
and then later joined.
Wonderful, wonderful. Allison.
Yes.
What or who initiates the first contact with the Sunflower House when reporting an abuse?
Okay. Well, what usually happens is law enforcement in Johnson and Wyandotte County, or Child Protective Services, which is, we call it SRS, they will get a report of suspected abuse. It'll come in through a hotline, through a call. Somebody in the community is reporting that they suspect this abuse. And what will happen is law enforcement and SRS will coordinate with Sunflower House to make the referral if it is deemed necessary, if it meets that criteria that we see children for. So the reporter can be anybody in the community. It can be a teacher, it can be a doctor, it can be a parent, it can be anybody that suspects that abuse. We only take referrals from law enforcement and Child Protective Services.
Okay, so after you get that referral, you make an appointment or, okay.
We have an intake coordinator that works with law enforcement and Child Protective Services social workers, and then the family, and they coordinate everything. So it's a very easy process for the family. They don't have to call the detective and the social worker. They don't have to try and coordinate it. It's very easy process for them. So that's how we get them in there. And they do come in by appointment.
Are the children usually taken out of the home already or out of the abused situation?
The first
before they
thing
get there?
that the SRS worker, the Child Protective Services, and law enforcement are going to do is make sure that that child is safe. That's their initial job, is to, get a sense of, is that child going to be safe in that home? And then they do their work from there. If the child needs to be placed in police protective custody or SRS custody, then they will proceed with that. If they can stay in this home safely, then they will do it that way. They'll do a safety plan with the family to make sure that child is safe during that initial investigation.
Okay. So when they arrive at the Sunflower House, what is that intake process? Take me through that process.
Well, the first thing, like we talked about, is that our intake coordinator is going to call the family and set everything up. They're going to give them some information about Sunflower House, what we do, what to expect, what they need to bring with them, if anything, kind of give them a general idea, make them feel comfortable, direct them to our website for more information so that they can learn more about the process. When they come into Sunflower House, it's a beautiful setting, very comforting to children. It's child friendly, and the family will be greeted by our volunteers and our staff. And from the minute they walk in, there is a process. We want to make sure that we do everything right. Nationally accredited, so we do have standards, and we will greet the family, get some basic information. We do not collect any payment. Families do not pay for our services, so we start that process. Then our family advocate comes out and meets with the family and gets the interview process started, and again explains how is it going to work, where their child is going to go. Parents will go view the interview room so they can see where their child is going to be. So they kind of get them comfortable with the process.
Now, Michelle had spoken earlier about it being taped or filmed for evidence in the courts.
Absolutely.
And those are definitely admissible. I mean, there's no question.
We provide legally defensible interviews at Sunflower House. Now, back in a long time ago, when I started in social work, we didn't have this kind of a resource. It was a social worker going out with a clipboard, doing interviews. It wasn't digitally recorded, and what would happen is that child's statement wasn't complete. We didn't get all the information. They would have to be interviewed again and again and again. And so now that we can digitally record it, that information goes with the law enforcement officer, and if it needs to go to prosecution, then they can use that. If it doesn't go to prosecution, that's okay too. We're just there to get the truth. So it's just an easier process for the families and for the investigators to work with.
Okay. What are some of the concerns as far from the parents when they come in? How do they explain to their child that they now have to speak with a stranger about what has happened to them? How would a parent be able to tell their kid?
Well, that's one of the questions that most parents and caregivers, sometimes it's the uncle and the aunt bringing the child to Sunflower House. So most of the people calling are saying, how do I prepare my child for this process? And our intake coordinator, again, since she's that initial contact, will tell them what to say and what not to say. They will go over the process with them, and then they will give them advice on how do you tell your child where you're going. Very brief. Not a lot of details. They do tell them, you're going to Sunflower House. It's a safe place, and you can talk about what happened to you.
Are the parents or the person reporting the abuse, are they allowed in the interview room with the child?
No. During the interview, and it's a very similar setting like this. It's a couple of chairs. It's going to be the forensic interviewer, which is a specially trained social worker, and the child. The only time anybody else is allowed in that room is an interpreter. We will provide interpreters for every language. Anytime that's needed, we are going to provide that. What happens is the social worker and the law enforcement officer will be in an observation room next to the interview room. So the interview is just the social worker, just like we're talking like this, it's just the social worker and the child.
Have you ever had a situation where the kid definitely wanted the parent in the room?
That does happen. That will happen with the younger the child, the more, there's going to be that separation anxiety. Very rarely does that happen, though. Usually children, they have told somebody. for some reason they have decided that they want it to stop. So they're usually pretty comfortable, and we do work at it, getting them comfortable.
Okay. What happens after all of the evaluation? Well, let me ask you first, let me back up. The medical evaluation that happens at that facility?
Absolutely, yes. That's one of the best services that we can provide for families. When an abuse report has been made, everybody goes into a crisis. They don't know what to expect. And one of the things that children who have been suspected of abuse need is a medical exam most times. Not always, but a lot of times that they do. Instead of going to a different hospital or the doctor's office or an emergency room, we can take care of that at Sunflower House at one time. So they will have the interview, and then they will have a medical exam afterwards, depending on the situation. And everything we do at Sunflower House is a case-by-case basis. We evaluate every family and proceed from there. But yes, we can do those on site. We have specially trained staff that know what they're looking for and know how to reassure the child that their body is safe, that they're okay, because a lot of kids, they think that this is their fault. They have a lot of questions. They will ask things like, girls will ask, can I have children? So they have a lot of, so we spend time reassuring them that they're okay. And we do collect evidence. If it is present, we will distribute that to law enforcement.
Okay. Let me move to the education component with Bev. And you have many sessions dealing with abuse and how to recognize it. Two in particular is abuse and neglect, and Steward for Children.
Stewards of Children.
Stewards of Children. And give me the details on that and explain the difference between those two.
Yeah, we offer many different sessions, which you can find on our website, which is sunflowerhouse.org. And two of our main ones that we have is the mandated reporter training for staff and other professionals who are mandated by law to report abuse. So we have a large number of professionals who are required by law to know and report suspicions of abuse, but yet there isn't a lot of training that goes into that for these professionals. So we offer that training. It's good for 2 clock hours through our Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And we really talk about what are the indicators, the different types of abuse, behavioral or physical indicators you might see in kids. A lot of times, parents and other professionals and adults that care for children don't even know what they're looking for. So a lot of times after a report's made, they come to Sunflower House, the parents and caregivers will say, wow, we had all these signs and I didn't even know that. And so we really try to educate, especially school staff who spend a lot of time with our children, on what to look for and then how to react responsibly if they do that, like how to maintain that they're abiding by law, which just says that you have to report suspicion that these professionals do. So it's not their job to determine if it happened or not. We let our law enforcement and SRS partners do that. Our job as mandated reporters is to report that I have a suspicion. This is why. And so we try to make sure that they're aware of that. And then the other training that you mentioned is Stewards of Children. And Stewards of Children is really more geared towards any caregiver or parent or other, well-meaning community member who is concerned about the well-being of children, and it's focused on sexual abuse prevention. So really taking that responsibility off of kids. We do teach kids, with Happy Bear, how to react and what they can say and what they can do, but it's an adult's responsibility to protect our children. So we need to put it back on our shoulders and say, let's be conscious of situations we put children in, monitor other adults, and know what to watch for, and so that they're aware of what does the grooming process for sexual abuse look like, because more often than not, over 95% of the kids that come to Sunflower House can name their perpetrator. It's not a stranger. So we spend a lot of time with stranger danger and a lot of time with other safety rules for kids, and we need to include sexual abuse prevention in that.
And this is just a question, how do you spot or recognize a child that has been sexually abused or could potentially be?
Yeah, there's a long list of potential indicators, and a lot of times things that you think, oh, I never would have thought that. So, by coming to the training, you get the long list of them, but, things to look for is if kids are uncomfortable around certain adults or older adolescents, because 40% of sexual abuse is by an older adolescent. So really listening to kids, if they're uncomfortable going somewhere with someone, or they seem hesitant or concerned, And you know, kids can react very differently.
Okay.
Kids can become withdrawn or can do the opposite. So also having the conversations with kids.
Okay.
Your body, you get to decide about touches regardless of who the other person is, whether it's a child or an adult.
And that brings me to the good programs with the children, the Happy Bear program. Tell us a little bit about that. And I know that's done in the schools, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
Happy Bear is our curriculum that's specific for 4 to 7-year-olds. So we say pre-K through 2nd grade. And Happy Bear is in every school district in Johnson and Wyandotte County. And it's an interactive play that is research-based and, of course, best practices. And we make sure that kids take Happy Bear through his day and teach him how to stay safe.
Okay.
So we talk about welcome and unwelcome touches, what they can do and say, who they can tell, and that we don't keep secrets if it doesn't keep our bodies safe. And also spend some time saying, you know, it is not your fault if someone else makes a choice that involves giving you an uncomfortable touch or doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable. But if we don't have that conversation at school and at home and at daycare, then kids aren't knowing that. So we really need to tell them. And we do use the anatomical correct name for our private parts, which is always kind of a concern. But we know, and we know from our interviewers and our law enforcement partners, kids are more likely to tell when they feel like it's okay. It's okay to say that word. It's okay to ask for help. And so we spend time making sure that kids know what the private part names are.
Okay. Wonderful. Wow.
I know.
Now you guys have an event coming up, and I know that you plan lots of events.
Yeah, that's what I
Knowing
do.
from the Parade of Heroes that we're working on, so, and you're great at it, by the way.
I love it.
But you have something coming up.
We do. We have lots of events at Sunflower
Okay.
House, and if anybody wants to get involved, there's so many ways. You call us and you tell us what you're good at, and we're going to find something for you to do at Sunflower House.
Okay.
One of the ways that community members can get involved is volunteering and getting involved with our events. We have the Valentine Gala coming up in February. It's on February 12th, and that is a wonderful, fun event for the community. We have over 500 guests, and it's a dinner, auction, dancing. We have the KC All-Stars, which is one of the best bands in Kansas City. So we do a lot of dancing. I always tell people that our mission is very serious. And so when we want to raise money and we want to get people involved, we try to make it as fun as possible.
Okay.
So that's one of the events we have coming up. We also have Wear Blue Day coming up in April.
Okay.
April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's a great way for people to get involved in lots of different activities. But we do have Wear Blue Day, and schools will get involved, colleges will get involved, and their students will pay $5 to wear, well, you get to wear jeans to school anyways if you want to, but they raise $5, they get a blue ribbon, and they show their support for child abuse prevention. And so that's a great way for students to get involved, for people in the community, in their businesses, and their schools, and their churches, and their Rotary clubs, and their civic clubs. So it's kind of a great community event.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
I'm going to have to pass that on to my daughter so she can do that at their school. Well, we're running out of time, unfortunately, and I know that there is probably a ton of things that we could continue talking about with the Sunflower House and all of you guys' efforts. It's just amazing that we have abuse in our community still, and sometimes it is missed. And hopefully with the Sunflower House, you guys can help heal these young victims. So on behalf of the Kansas City, Kansas Community College and Media Services, we thank you for being with us today and sharing how we can recognize and spot child abuse, and knowing exactly that the Sunflower House is there for us in the community. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Conversations.